You ever wake up and just know the universe is smirking at you? I mean, not full-blown laughing, not yet. Just doing that smug little grin like it's been holding on to a punchline and you're the guy about to trip over it. That was me. Tuesday morning. Woke up to the smell of burnt toast, my son's cereal spilled across the counter, and my wife humming in the kitchen like she hadn't just spent the last 6 months acting like I was the couch she resented but still sat on. Our boy, Max, was 6. Bright eyes, crooked smile, full of questions. This morning's curiosity: Dad, how do airplanes stay in the sky if they're so heavy? I was halfway through explaining lift and Bernoulli's principle badly when Max dropped the real bomb. Oh, and remember that time when you were gone and the fun uncle came over and stayed the night? Mommy let me have ice cream for dinner. He's really nice. Record scratch. Now here's the thing. I'm not a naturally suspicious guy. I don't check my wife's phone. I don't sniff shirts for cologne. But you tell me there was a mystery fun uncle in my house during one of my business trips, and suddenly that burnt toast starts smelling like betrayal. I looked over at Emily, my wife, 12 years in, and she froze like a raccoon caught near the trash bin. Max, she said sweetly, why don't you finish your cereal in the living room? Okay, he chirped, oblivious, skipping off with his spoon and a trail of milk. She turned back to me, smile gone. It wasn't like that, she said preemptively. I didn't say a word. Didn't need to. That was part of my charm and my curse. I let silence do the talking, and it tends to make liars sweat. He's just someone from work, she added, stirring her coffee way too hard for decaf. You were gone. It was late. He crashed on the couch. I didn't think. But here's the problem with I didn't think. That phrase always shows up wearing guilt like perfume. I didn't explode. I didn't accuse. I just watched. And when she left for her spin class, the one she started attending again out of nowhere, I sat in that kitchen, staring at the untouched toast, and realized something simple. My life might not be what I thought it was. And that's when I knew I needed to start paying attention. Because when the universe smirks, it's not joking. Not yet. That night, after Max was tucked in and dreaming of dinosaurs or Legos or whatever 6-year-olds dream about, I poured myself a glass of bourbon and did what every husband promises he'll never do until it's too late. I started snooping. I wasn't proud of it. But I also wasn't proud of how quickly Emily's fun uncle explanation had fallen apart. If there was nothing to hide, why did her voice shake when she said it? I opened her laptop. Not mine to touch, technically. But marriage makes ownership a fluid thing. What's hers is mine, and what's mine, well, that's still mine. But the second I cracked it open, I knew I wasn't just crossing a line. I was setting it on fire and roasting marshmallows over it. First stop, photos. It was routine. Max at the zoo. Us at a wedding 2 years ago. A blurry shot of Emily's avocado toast. And then a click. A selfie. Bathroom mirror. She looked different. New lipstick. New energy. The kind of glow that doesn't come from yoga or green smoothies. And in the background, a man. Half-dressed. Shaving. He wasn't looking at the camera. He wasn't smiling. He was just there, like he belonged in the picture, in the bathroom, in her life. And here's the kicker. The timestamp was from the same weekend I'd been out of town for a conference in Chicago. The same weekend she said she and Max had a movie night. I zoomed in. No ring on his finger. Defined jaw. The kind of guy who probably says things like, bro, and never skips chest day. I closed the laptop slowly. Stared at the blank TV screen in front of me, which now reflected a man I didn't fully recognize of me. I'd always thought infidelity was a storm. Loud. Violent. Obvious. But this was erosion. Quiet. Steady. Eating away at the edges until one day, you realize your foundation's gone and the whole house is sinking. Emily came home an hour later, smelling like vanilla body spray and someone else's approval. She kissed me on the cheek. I didn't flinch. I didn't confront. Not yet. Because I wasn't ready to hear her lie to my face. I needed more. And I had a feeling Max, in his beautiful, unfiltered innocence, might give it to me. Saturday morning arrived with the kind of forced normalcy that feels like walking barefoot across shattered glass, pretending you're on the beach. Emily was making pancakes. Max was coloring on the floor. I was nursing a second cup of black coffee I didn't even want. And then it happened. Max looked up from his sketch of what I think was supposed to be a dinosaur wearing sunglasses and said, "Hey, Mommy, is the nice uncle coming over again today?" Emily froze. Not blink and move on froze. No, this was statue level, face draining, soul vacating paralysis. Like her internal Wi-Fi just dropped signal mid-update. What uncle, baby? She asked, with a smile so tight it could crack. The one with the red car, Max said, all sunshine and oblivion. He gave me $1 for doing a dance. You said I made him laugh. My grip on the mug tightened. I didn't say a word, just turned to look at her. Calm, cold, waiting. Emily set the spatula down like it weighed 50 pounds. Logan, she began. Oh, there it was. The use of my full name. That meant she was preparing to lie. I cut her off. Don't. Just don't. She tried to keep it together, but her voice cracked anyway. It didn't mean anything. I've always hated that phrase. Didn't mean anything. It's what people say after they drop a nuclear bomb on your trust and then try to sweep up the ashes with a dollar store broom. Is that what you tell yourself, or is that what he tells you? I asked, still sitting, still steady. Tears welled up in her eyes, and I could see she was about to turn it into her tragedy. Classic move. I was lonely. You were always gone for work. You barely looked at me anymore. I nodded slowly, letting it soak in. So your solution was to invite a stranger into the house? Into our son's world? While I was out there trying to build something for us? Her silence was answer enough. I stood up. Max was watching now, sensing the mood shift, crayons forgotten. Emily stepped forward, but I held up a hand. I'm not yelling, I said quietly. Because yelling would mean I still want to fix this. That hit her harder than anything else. I walked into our bedroom, grabbed a bag, and started packing. She followed, pleading, crying now. I made a mistake. Tour had officially kicked off, and I wasn't buying a single ticket. She asked me to stay. Said Max needed both of us. That we could talk about it. I zipped the bag shut. You talked about it already, I said, staring her dead in the eyes. With him. Then I turned to Max, knelt down, and pulled him in for a hug. I'm going to stay at Grandma's for a bit, bud. You be good, okay? He nodded, eyes big, confused. Is it because of the funny uncle? I looked up at Emily. Her face was pale. Ruined. Yeah, I said, standing. Exactly because of that. You ever take a walk through your own house after everything's changed? It's not just the silence that hits you. It's the realization that every object is now a suspect. The picture frames. The throw pillows. The hand soap in the guest bathroom that you're pretty sure she didn't buy for you. Everything becomes a witness to something you didn't see. I'd moved out 2 days earlier. Packed up a week's worth of clothes, some files, and my dignity, what was left of it, and set up camp in my mother's basement like I was 17 again, minus the acne and the hope. But I wasn't there to sulk. I was there to regroup. Because here's the thing about betrayal. If you can't undo it, you document it. By day 3, I had a whiteboard, a timeline, a spreadsheet, and a full cup of cold resolve. And trust me, there's nothing colder. I started with what I knew. The uncle had a red car. Drove up sometime while I was out of town for a conference in Denver 2 months back. That was when Max said he gave me $1 for dancing. You don't forget those details. Not when your kid becomes the whistleblower to your wife's secret circus. I pulled up our Nest camera archives, not the obvious one by the front door. Emily knew about that one. But the side gate cam? The one I installed last year after the neighbor's dog went rogue on our recycling bin? That one she'd probably forgotten. Bingo. There it was. Thursday night. 8:47 p.m. A red Mustang convertible pulling up by the side gate like he was sneaking in for a heist. Tall guy, looked like the type who moisturizes twice a day and calls himself a creative. She met him outside, hugged him like he was the returning soldier and she was the lonely nurse. I scrubbed through 2 more clips. He left after midnight. So much for the couch. I kept digging. She had a second phone. That's how I knew this wasn't just a mistake. It was logistics. Deception with a calendar invite. I found it in the guest room drawer, underneath the Monopoly box. She never liked board games, which should have been my first clue. The phone wasn't locked. Either she was getting lazy or arrogant. Maybe both. The texts made my jaw tighten. His name in her phone was James, therapist. Yeah, therapist. Real subtle. Maybe she thought if I found it, I'd just assume she was working on herself. She was, all right. Just not in the way she should have been. James, I miss your smell. Can I come over this weekend? Emily, you always ask like I'd ever say no. Bring the red wine this time. The last message was from 2 nights ago. James, he's gone again. Want me to sneak in through the back? Emily, my favorite door-winking face. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not because it hurt, though it did, but because something shifted in me. Something cold. Something strategic. She thought I was boring. Predictable. Good. Let her keep thinking that. The next day, I made calls. I wasn't sloppy about it. I didn't post online. Didn't go storming back to the house demanding confessions like some daytime talk show guest. Instead, I visited an old friend of mine from college. Drew. Works in private security now. Guy's built like a filing cabinet and thinks facial expressions are optional. He didn't ask questions. Just handed me a set of cameras and an audio bug that could hide in a flower vase. You need something traced? He asked. Eventually, I said. For now, I just need the truth to keep telling on itself. I let myself into the house while Emily was at work. Max was at school. The place smelled like lavender and betrayal. I installed the cameras, one in the living room lamp, another in the bookshelf in our bedroom, and one discreetly tucked behind the air vent cover in the kitchen. The mic went under the dining table. By the time I left, that house was wired tighter than a Christmas ham. And she had no idea. That night, I checked the footage remotely. Nothing yet. Just her eating leftover pasta and texting furiously with James. She laughed out loud at one of his messages. I didn't flinch. Let her laugh. Let her be comfortable. Because comfort breeds mistakes. The next morning, my phone buzzed. New footage, motion detected at 2:12 a.m. I watched it unfold in the darkness. She crept downstairs in an oversized t-shirt, barefoot, lips curled into a smile that didn't belong to me anymore. She opened the back door, and there he was. James. He walked in like he owned the place. She kissed him. Not a guilty peck. This was ownership. Then they sat at the kitchen table. Wine. Laughing. Whispering things I couldn't hear but didn't need to. I watched the timestamp tick away as she leaned into him, touched his hand, played with his collar. And then she said something. The mic caught it clear as day. He has no clue. Honestly, I think he suspects something, but Logan's. He's not the type. He'll just mope or leave. He doesn't fight. I leaned back in my chair, watching her smug little smirk twist across the screen. Not the type to fight? Maybe not before. But now? I wasn't fighting for her. I was fighting against her. You ever hear the phrase revenge is a dish best served cold? Yeah, that's not entirely true. It's best served prepared. Cold, sure. Calculated, absolutely. But most importantly, legal. You want to hit someone where it hurts. You don't just throw a punch. You make it hurt every day after that. After I watched the footage of Emily and James, and yes, we're still putting that name in quotes because I sincerely doubt that's what his driver's license says, I didn't throw the laptop across the room. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I opened a spreadsheet. Step 1. Financial audit. Emily and I had joined everything. That was my first mistake. We were one of those couples who shared logins like we shared dessert, generously, naively. I logged into our accounts and started tracking every transaction that didn't make sense. The spot charges on weekdays. The Uber rides when she supposedly had the car. A $350 charge from a restaurant I'd never even heard of. During a weekend, she said she was visiting her sister. Yeah, visiting her sister's lies, maybe. I kept going. Her credit card history showed a few boutique purchases. One of them was men's cologne, the exact brand I don't wear. Bless her heart. She was leaving a breadcrumb trail wide enough for a parade float. Step 2. Legal consultation. I called a buddy from my old gym. Divorce attorney. Real bulldog in a blazer. Met him for lunch under the pretense of catching up, and by the second cup of coffee, I had a list of everything I needed to build a no-contest case. He asked if I wanted to go scorched earth. I said, not yet. He grinned. That's the most dangerous answer. Step 3. Protect Max. Look, say what you want about revenge, but my kid doesn't deserve to be a pawn in it. I made sure his school records had me listed as the primary contact. I talked to my mom about helping with pickup and drop-offs when needed. I even bought a new set of clothes and toys for him at her house. Didn't want him feeling like the world was shifting under his feet just because his mom decided to play house with a gym membership. Max didn't ask for any of this, but he was the reason I wasn't falling apart. He gave me focus, purpose. I wasn't just reclaiming my life. I was rebuilding it into something stronger, with steel where the soft spots used to be. 2 days later, I got another notification. Motion detected. 11:32 p.m. I opened the footage. Emily and James again. Same couch. Different wine. This time she was in pajamas, from the looks of it, and they were watching a movie like they'd been doing it for years. Then she said something that changed the whole game. We should just tell him. File. He'll crumble. He's always been the type to fold under pressure. I mean, He couldn't even handle confrontation at a parent-teacher meeting. James laughed. Then do it. He probably suspects already. Just hit him with the papers and let him fall apart. He'll move out, you'll get the house, and I'll be moving in by Halloween. Emily smiled, like it was a real estate deal. I don't even think he'll fight for custody. He's too passive. Let me tell you something about passive men. We aren't weak. We're observant. We don't yell because we're already listening. We don't explode because we're building. She thought she had me figured out, but all she had was the version of me that trusted her. That Logan's gone. The man watching that video? He was done folding. The next day, I printed photos, screenshots, chat logs, bank statements. I put them all in a manila folder and labeled it with the kind of irony I'd once reserved for birthday cards. Just a mistake. I left it on the dining room table of the house I no longer lived in. Then I waited. Sure enough, she called me at 6:43 p.m. No greeting. No preamble. Are you spying on me? I took a breath. Sat up straighter. I'm documenting. You went through my stuff? Correction. Our stuff. Shared home. Shared devices. Shared betrayal. She went silent. Then, predictably, she pivoted to outrage. This is illegal. You can't just record me. Actually, I can. California is a two-party consent state, but we live in Arizona. One-party consent. And since I'm the one who owns the house, pays the bills, and installed the cameras to prevent break-ins, your boyfriend walking in the back gate? That counts. I heard her breath hitch. You're unwell? She snapped. This is obsessive. No, Emily, I said evenly. This is strategic. You tried to replace me in my own home. You brought a stranger into our son's life and laughed about how easy I'd make it. That's not a mistake. That's a campaign. She tried to hang up. I stopped her with one line. I've already talked to a lawyer. That got her. She paused. When she spoke again, her voice was lower, tighter. What are you going to do? I'm going to take back what's mine. Piece by piece. With paperwork. With custody. With calm, calculated precision. Silence. Then, the faintest, most uncertain whisper I'd ever heard from her. You were never this cold. No, I said, my tone flat as stone. But you were never this cruel. By the time Friday rolled around, Emily had called 3 more times. Left 2 voicemails, sent 4 texts. Each one shorter, colder, more frantic than the last. We need to talk. You're making this worse than it needs to be. Logan. Seriously. This is toxic. Funny how that word never came up when she was sneaking around like a B-movie villain with a gym membership and a red Mustang. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't want to believe me, the sarcasm drafts were chef's kiss, but because silence is the loudest thing you can say to someone who's always needed to be the center of gravity. And now? She was drifting. The folder I left on the table? Oh, she found it. I knew she did, because my lawyer called the next morning and said Emily's name had popped up in a preliminary inquiry from a family law firm uptown. One of those high-end offices with abstract paintings and quiet receptionists. Which meant she wasn't panicking yet. She was still hoping I'd come to my senses and make this easier. She didn't know I'd already hired the warhorse from downtown. You don't go to war with people who wear lavender suits and sip herbal tea. You go with the woman who's got 5 rings on her fingers and a track record for splitting sharks in half. Her name was Sharon, 58 years old. Spoke in bullet points. When I first showed her the photos, the financials, and the side door surveillance footage, she didn't gasp. She just said, "You want custody, the house, and your dignity? Or revenge and headlines?" I thought about that for a second. Yes, that weekend, Max had a birthday party to attend, some classmate with a trampoline and a father trying way too hard to bond with every other dad. I dropped him off early and stuck around just long enough to shake a few hands and pretend I was still in the married but tired category instead of the freshly betrayed and increasingly dangerous club. Emily showed up 20 minutes late, wearing the kind of outfit women put on when they want to win a breakup. White jeans, tight blouse, and sunglasses so big they looked like she was hiding from the FBI. The second she saw me, her step slowed. "Logan," she said, giving me a tight-lipped smile. "Can we talk?" "We are," I replied. "And we're doing great so far." She pulled me aside, away from the bouncy castle full of sugar-high children, and dropped her voice. "Why are you doing this?" I gave a humorless smile. "You mean why am I not making this easier for you and James?" Her mouth tightened at the name. "So that's what we were calling him now. Good. Let's keep things accurate." "I made a mistake," she said, folding her arms like that gave her credibility. But you're turning this into a circus. A circus you started, I reminded her. I'm just charging admission. Emily let out a dramatic sigh. Do you know what you're doing to Max? That stopped me. Not because she had a point, but because it was my point. She just tried to use it first. I know exactly what I'm doing, I said. I'm protecting him. You brought a man he didn't know into our house. You exposed him to your lies. You thought he wouldn't notice. But he did. He told me. Her face went pale. You think he understands any of this? I stepped closer. He understands enough to ask why the uncle was around when Dad wasn't. He understands loyalty. And if I have anything to do with it, he'll understand that people who break trust don't get to cry about consequences. Emily didn't speak. She just stood there, arms tight, trying to conjure the version of me she used to manipulate. That version had left the building. After a few beats of silence, she said, "You're not going to win." I smiled. I already did. The second you stopped underestimating me. That night, I reviewed the footage again, out of habit more than curiosity. No James. No wine. Just Emily, pacing the living room like a woman who finally realized her backup plan was pulling the rug out from under her heels. Then something interesting happened. She sat down and started typing on her laptop. I watched her face tighten. I squint. She wasn't shopping. She wasn't emailing friends. She was researching. Divorce laws. Custody strategy. How to fight for a house you didn't pay for. That was actually the title of one of the articles she clicked. She was trying to game the system. Understandable. That's how she operated. But there was something she didn't know. I'd already spoken to our accountant. Got statements going back 2 years. Every bill. Every credit card swipe. Every dinner she wrote off as networking. I had evidence she used marital funds to rent a hotel room while I was in it, a different floor, a different name on the reservation, but the same damn weekend. She thought she was clever. But I had the receipts. On Monday morning, Emily's lawyer reached out with a proposed amicable separation agreement. The kind that assumes the husband just wants to leave with a clean shirt and a pat on the back. I laughed. Then I forwarded the folder. The screenshots. The texts. The call logs. The footage. Every smile she gave James behind my back. Every timestamp. I didn't include a message. I didn't need to. Sharon did the talking. We declined the offer. We have overwhelming evidence of infidelity, financial misconduct, and exposure of the minor child to inappropriate circumstances. If Ms. Raines wishes to settle, our terms are as follows. Full custody. Full ownership of the primary residence. Zero spousal support. Supervised visitation until a court-appointed evaluator deems otherwise. I imagined the moment Emily opened that email. I imagined her jaw tightening. The flicker of disbelief. The slow, dawning horror that the man she thought would crumble was standing over her, handing her a shovel. And the hole was already dug. Emily didn't respond right away. Not to the email. Not to the silence. Not to the sound of her own power unraveling one page at a time. She waited 2 days. Then she called me, her voice unusually calm. That kind of calm people get right before they hit the iceberg and are still pretending the ship's unsinkable. "We don't have to make this ugly, Logan," she said. "It's not ugly," I replied. "It's honest. That's new for you. I get why it's uncomfortable." She tried bargaining. "What if we sell the house? Split it? 50-50 custody?" I let out a short laugh. "You want 50-50 with a man you said wasn't even trying? The same man your new boyfriend mocked while helping himself to the wine I paid for." People make mistakes, Logan. They do. And some of them leave proof all over the guest bathroom. Click. She hung up. And I didn't hear from her again for a while, not directly. But indirectly? The gloves were off. She went on social media, posting vague quotes about betrayal and healing, probably to frame herself as the victim to the handful of followers who didn't know the whole story. But I wasn't worried, because I had more than my side. I had facts. The court date came fast. Faster than Emily expected. She arrived in muted beige, her expression that perfect blend of regret and righteous indignation. Her lawyer, the soft kind, the kind who probably believed they could talk their way through this with poetic metaphors, was already sweating when he saw Sharon. I didn't say much in court. I didn't have to. Sharon did the talking, and the evidence did the rest. The footage. The hotel receipts. The timeline. The voice clip of Emily laughing about keeping me in the dark. Even the part where she admitted, in writing, that Max had met James multiple times before we even discussed separation. That didn't sit well with the judge. When Emily took the stand, she cracked faster than I expected. The fake confidence fell apart mid-sentence. I was overwhelmed. I didn't know how to bring it up. Didn't know how? Sharon asked. Or didn't care to? Emily looked at me, eyes wide, watery. Like maybe I'd throw her a lifeline. I didn't even blink. Final ruling. Primary custody to me. The house was awarded in full due to my consistent payments, ownership stake, and evidence of breach of trust. Emily got a few personal assets, a visitation schedule, and what remained of her dignity. She didn't cry. She just sat there in stunned silence, realizing what it felt like to be the one left behind. The next week was quiet. Peaceful, even. The kind of quiet that settles into a home after a storm's ripped off the roof, and you finally put it back on better, stronger. Max adjusted faster than I thought he would. Kids are like that, surprisingly resilient when given love, consistency, and zero lies. He stopped asking about that uncle. Stopped mentioning those awkward weekends when Emily would disappear for girl time that didn't include any girls. Emily's supervised visitation started 2 weeks later. Her smile was thinner, her makeup heavier. Her laugh, the one she used to throw around like confetti, now sounded brittle. James? He vanished from the picture. Word was, he didn't like being part of a story with consequences. Turns out, the same guy who sneaks in through the back gate usually sprints out the front when real life shows up with court orders and custody hearings. One day, Max asked, Dad, is Mommy okay? I paused, then knelt beside him. She's figuring stuff out. But you and me? We're solid. That's what matters. He nodded. Didn't push. Just leaned his head on my shoulder, and that was that. I didn't need to prove anything anymore. I'd already done the one thing no one expected. I healed. It was 3 months later. A sunny Saturday. Max was at a play date. I was home alone, finally feeling like the house was mine. No ghosts. No perfume trails. No whispered lies behind bedroom doors. That's when I saw the red Mustang again, parked across the street. James. He stepped out casually, sunglasses on, sleeves rolled. Same smug grin I'd seen in those surveillance clips. He started walking toward the house like nothing had changed, like this was still his playground. I met him halfway down the driveway. Logan, he said, with that practiced smirk. Long time, man. I didn't say a word. I was just in the area, he continued. Thought maybe we could clear the air. Air's already clear, I replied. You're not part of this story anymore. He laughed. Look, I didn't mean for it to go that way. You know how things happen. She was I didn't let him finish. One punch. That's all it took. I'd been dreaming of that moment. Not because I'm violent by nature, I'm not. But because some endings aren't signed in ink. They're sealed in bruises. His sunglasses flew. He hit the ground hard. Logan, what the? I stepped over him, looked down, voice low. You ever come near me or my kid again, I finish it. You understand. He nodded, dazed, a streak of blood on his lip. Good, I said. Now get off my street. And he did. No cops. No complaints. Just silence. The kind you earn. People ask how I'm doing now. Truth? I'm better. Not because it didn't hurt. It did. Not because I didn't want to scream, break things, collapse. I wanted all of that. But I didn't give in to it. I took every ounce of pain and forged something out of it. A better life. A stronger spine. A deeper understanding of who I am. She thought I was weak. Predictable. She forgot the quiet ones keep score too. And in the end, when the dust settled and the house was ours again, when Max laughed without flinching and I could finally look in the mirror without wondering what I'd missed, I knew the truth. I didn't just survive betrayal. I turned it into a blueprint for never being broken again. The funny thing is, she thought the affair would end me. All it did was end us. And that? That was the best thing she ever did for me. The end.